It is a Friday, and when the Fridays come, it is time for the Media Roundtable. It's time for us to have a conversation on some of the stories that have made headlines in the different dailies, but also the stories that have kept us on our toes, looking for the next, the next pointer that adds to it, the next development coming through. And of course, it's been a week of thinking through the conversations regarding the regional sittings, which were clearly announced. I don't know why sometimes we love to have the end discussions, but these conversations were announced during the budget reading. The Speaker was very clear and said, since we are a people-centered parliament, we're going to be taking parliament to the 4 regions or to the different regions of the country, and clearly announced that Kaunda Grounds would be the first place the regional sitting will be coming through. But now, the leader of opposition the other day threw up, would I call them tantrums, or was actually talking about the realities on ground and said, number one, we are not being consulted in the arrangements and preparations. And then he threw up a figure and said he has heard that each would be taking 5 billion shillings. And yesterday, the Deputy Speaker responded and said, people, you need to weigh your words before you get to say them, and dismiss the 5 billion expenditure per regional sitting that's coming through. But also on the other side, politically, because we're counting down months, weeks, or days, whichever way you want to look at it, to the political season. The Electoral Commission is changing its schedule, but the political parties are also not seated. The Katonga faction of the Forum for Democratic Change also went around the country, and looks like a new party could be coming through pretty soon. Is that the best way to be able to resolve any political differences? But that's a conversation I will be putting to my panel right here. And I want to introduce to you my panelists. Of course, I am starting off with Derek Wandera. It's a pleasure. Derek, good morning.
Good morning, Mildred. Nice to have me, and
pleasure having you.
Always happy to be here.
Derek is at least still an active journalist, news channel 24/7, and you're still working with Nation Media Group. Yes, definitely a pleasure having you. By choice, I will skip the next person and introduce Manzil Ibrahim. Manzil, it's been a while. Are you somewhere in the courts of law practicing? It's been a bit, but a pleasure having you here. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mildred, for having me. After it's been a year, I'm happy to be back.
Pleasure having you back as well. And Isaac Kayonde as well joining us. The last time I called him a journalist, I think he was being, in Uganda we question everything. We'll start questioning which journalism school you went to. But Isaac, it's a pleasure having you, and a good morning to you.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, and of course the newest graduates of this week, this month, and the preceding weeks until we get a new one. First-class degree in journalism. Did you attend classes? Benson Ongo?
I attended. I had people saying other people didn't attend. But I attended. But also, Mildred, now that we have these, need the gifts to come before the show.
You want the gifts to come. Okay.
And nowadays, you don't have to present a real gift.
Yeah, mobile money is available.
I'll give
Manyachi is what we normally ask. But congratulations, Benson.
Thank you very much, Mildred.
I know adult education is one of the hardest things when you're running around with so many things. You're at work, you have family, you have that. But to everyone who does actually dedicate their time, we wish you all the very best of luck. But gentlemen, we'll be delving straight into the conversations. And the hottest conversation currently, where people are juxtaposing and says, oh, Parliament is going to spend this much money. Is it even deserving for Parliament to take it there? Shouldn't it be done differently? Don't we have representatives from the regions where this, the Parliament is planning to sit? And yet this is a conversation that was actually thrown out during the budget reading. Manzil, I want to start with you because this is definitely the place you work. And the leader of opposition has also complained the secretiveness about the organizations and arrangements is wanting for them as the opposition. Let's talk about that for starters.
Thank you very much, Mildred. If you followed plenary yesterday, the Deputy Speaker talked about how this arrangement came about. And it was communicated first through the caucuses, the regional caucuses, because this is an activity that's going to happen across the 4 regions of Uganda.
Yeah.
And you see, from the conversations of how much and, the expenditure and so on, I just want us to start with the why.
Why? Yeah.
Why should we have those regional sittings? I wrote an article recently in the Daily Monitor about the same. And if you look at our legislative history, our legislative culture, there is something, there's a dominant theme that comes out, which is that the people's involvement in legislative processes has not really been as deepened as it ought to be. And this is because, you see, when you sit in Kampala, Parliament sitting in Kampala, since the independence up to now, there is a natural disconnect that happens when legislators come to Parliament. If you just went to the countryside and asked, is your member of Parliament effective? Have they represented you to your expectations, to the very best of expectations? The answer will be no. I mean, there's something missing here. Our views are not, conveyed adequately to the plenary, and the matters that affect us are not really, articulated properly, are not, discussed, are not. We don't see this. We don't feel the solutions. Now, the idea behind these sittings is to demystify the institution of Parliament, to humanize it, to get it down to the people. If Parliament sits in Gulu, and the arrangement is before the actual sitting happens, committees will actually go and sit, especially the social services committees, education, health, and so on and so forth. To look at, Parliament has been sending money to these areas, but issues keep coming up. What exactly is the solution? The opportunity of having the sittings there will give members an up-close experience with what exactly the people go through there. Now, the format is, we are going to have the government side, we are going to have the members of Parliament. When matters are brought up, they are resolved, and then that will inform the allocations of the next financial year. The success or failure of the regional sittings, in my view, would be determined by, if we have the resolutions, for instance, there are 10 resolutions in Gulu, to finance this health center, to work on this bridge, to connect this community road, to refurbish the traditional schools, etc., etc., as the issues will be found there. I want us to come back here after a year and see, have all these issues been resolved?
Do you think a one-off is sufficient to be able to address? Because we have a moment for matters of national importance, and some of these issues have actually always come through on the floor of Parliament. Do we now need to take the entire House, which is, we are in representative democracy. We have a number of members of Parliament from those particular regions. Aren't they sufficient to deal with those issues and bring them to the House?
Well, you can say that. We always have matters of national importance, which really takes maybe 30 minutes at most, because everything is itemized on the order paper. But the idea is, when we exclusively have a sitting of Parliament, to look at the issues coming up from the grassroots, from a particular region, and we exhaustively deal with them with finality. I think it will give the people an opportunity to have an expectation from Parliament and an expectation from government. You see, there are issues which, if you told a member of Parliament and he came to Kampala, I mean, it's a sitting of over 500 members of Parliament. By the time he actually talks about the issues and then the budgeting process comes, I mean, most of it would be, like they say, lost in translation in the middle there. However, if we have that sitting in Gulu, and the issue, because you see, the local people will actually will be part of the sittings. They will come and listen to what their members are saying. The local leaders, the councillors, the LC5 chairpersons, with that kind of presence, we will have the ability to legislate for the people after knowing exactly the issues pressing them. And I think it will give us the opportunity to really, this is a good experiment in, one, raising our civic consciousness so that the people can know that a member of Parliament does not construct the bridges, but the member of Parliament raises the issue, the government acts on it, and in the next allocation, because the budget is an instrument of the executive, let's not forget that. You know, Parliament, when the budget comes, at least with the presence of government on ground, presence of members of Parliament, we are sure that in the allocations coming, those issues will be given priority so that the people can feel their institutions working for them.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you for the elaboration. And I want to get to Benson because it's starting from your region, and there's so many of the leaders who have actually reacted. Is it a blessing? Is it worth carrying the entire parliament with all the expenses to get to a particular region?
Mildred, I think there seemed to be very little clarity coming from the regional parliament debate and conversation. The other day when the members of parliament from northern Uganda, I think northeast, had a press conference in Kampala, actually we hosted one of them, the chair for Lamu Parliamentary Group here, Honorable Judith Aliyev. And she said, it's not the entire parliament going to Gulu. She said 10 committees of parliament. Those social committees you have mentioned, including education, infrastructure, health, defense, are the one going to Gulu. And she also said they're not spending 5 billion. So they're spending 2.5 billion because the committees already had budget for their committee work, as you know. So they'll be traversing the north using their budget for the committee. So there is very little clarity on what exactly is going to happen. Is it the entire parliament going? But by and large, you said something which I want to, you're saying it's going to breach a disconnect between parliament and the local people. I think that is not true. We have had this debate before. Even the other day when you hosted us in your platform on Twitter, I did say that is not only for the north, and I don't think the regional sitting is going to solve the issue of the north. How many times have members of parliament from the north raised issue of Karamojong raids? How many times have members of parliament from the north raised issues of security, especially from the border side, between Ngomoromo to South Sudan? How many times have we questioned the issues of accountability on these government programs, whether NUSAV 1, NUSAV 2, NUSAV 3, Operation Well Question, and so forth? How many times? So the question that we have been asking, what will be the impact and the difference that regional parliament will create? Because if again...
Do you think this is more of a PR kind of event?
Because they need to tell us what has Honorable Ojara Martin Mapenduzi, what has Honorable Akola Anthony, Honorable Aliyev debated in Kampala and have not been acted on, and they will debate in Gulu. How different will it be? Because at the end of the day, they'll go to Masaka, Barabale, and again, these things will be consolidated into the national budget, and it will be worked on in the other year. How different is it? Northern Uganda, I think in the last parliament, Honorable Leandro Komakeji was the member of parliament for Gulu municipality. They had a bill, I think, on transitional justice policy. There's so many things that Northern Uganda do have, and I don't think a regional sitting for 2-3 days will really come and say, okay, we'll resolve. I want to think like you. You're saying maybe if they go and have a 10 points, focus on the 10-point program, and then maybe they will deal with it how? This same issue that the region is going to talk about is the same issue. I am going to be covering that parliament. I want to hear what members of parliament from the north will raise that they have not raised in Kampala. And how different is that parliament is going to treat those issues that have been raised from the north. And how will they act? Because again, it still go to the national budget. So I think the clarity has to come from parliament. All this conversation, it is good. The positive thing is coming to Gulu. We have had the economy. It's going to boost our economy. It's a good thing. But what parliament is facing, my brother, is beyond taking parliament to Gulu. Some of those members of parliament that are sitting in parliament, and they are coming from our region, also from your region and other region, some of them really are so wanting. Even when parliament takes parliament to my constituents or my parish, it will still be the same debate. I think parliament has to go back to the drawing board and start having a proper conversation with members of parliament. First of all, what is their role as members of parliament? How can they portray their identity as members of parliament? Many of them are lost in between there. Many of them are lost in between there. I only see, and for me, even this press conference that the members of parliament from the north did have, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, surprisingly, I have not often seen our members of parliament come out to have such unity on the issues that are affecting us there. Very rarely. Sometimes they come because of few things, because of few milestones they want to achieve. But when it comes to this matter, I see everybody. So my brother, I think the clarity has to
That's
come.
positive.
Is it the entire parliament going to Gulu? Is it the 10 committees? Because Ali surely told us there are 10 committees.
It's only 10 committees.
I don't know if I can have a minute to really respond to that.
Okay, yeah, because we are here to provide the clarity.
Yes. Number one, the committees are going on the ground to establish and aggregate the issues, to visit health centers, to talk to the people and all that.
So do we call that the advanced team in lay terms?
Exactly. And by the way, I think the committees have actually already left.
But also, is
now,
that
now,
the regional committee?
the whole
is that
plenary.
the regional committee going? Or because it's a national committee of parliament.
It's not a regional committee. It's committees of parliament. Committees of parliament going in there, because you see, parliament has the oversight function. The oversight function, parliamentary roles can either be delegated to committees or can actually be exercised by the whole house. Now, the oversight functions are given to those committees. Now, where they are going to go there to aggregate the issues on ground. Now, there will be a plenary sitting of parliament, not just committees.
The entire parliament.
The entire parliament will sit in Gulu with the government side fully constituted to really take off time and deal with those issues exhaustively. And Benson, I want you to give these sittings a chance. You see, you have said that members of parliament have been raising these issues for so long, which is exactly why there is need for something new, a new approach to dealing with these issues. You see, you're not going to apply the same, solutions to the problems, expecting different results year in, year out. The reason why we particularize this sitting is because now, if Parliament goes to Gulu, and the issues in Karamoja, West Nile, everywhere.
And they're the same?
Yes.
How different is it going to be?
Now, that one means there's going to be specific focus to the issues there. We're not going to be, because you see, if you sit...
But they're the same members of parliament from the same region raising the same issues to the same house.
The issues that are going to raise will come to the national budget, probably maybe next year. Is the same thing. I don't think you're going to have a specific budget after this regional sitting for Masaka region, for Barara region.
Okay, maybe Mazil, you conclude, I go to the other panelists.
Benson, there is specificity to these things. Now, if Parliament sits in Gulu, okay, and let me start it this way. If they sit in Kampala, Honorable Aliek, for instance, raises a matter of national importance, 45 seconds, 1 minute. Then someone raises a matter in Kisoro. Then another one raises a matter elsewhere. Now, the reason why we have these sittings is because, one, if the issue today is matters affecting the North, okay, they are going to be given primacy.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you, Manzil. But I still do believe, even if an issue is raised from Karamoja, another from Kisoro, another from Masindi, it's still, Parliament has a Hansard. You can still be able to aggregate this information into knowing these are northern issues, these are... But anyway, let's continue with the conversation. Derek, I want to come to you with what is surrounding the conversation with regard to parliamentary regional sittings, because one would say it's a good thing. Bring the parliament to us. Let's get to understand what happens in Kampala, because, I mean, there are residents who will not be able to ever get the chance to even sit in the gallery.
Thank you, Mildred. But I hear Manzil and sympathize with my brother, with whom I've shared a newsroom, and he's my very good friend.
Are you laying ground for attack?
I just sympathize with him because there is a lot that you need to do to convince people. And when we were coming in the lift, he was asking the same question, and I told him it's just that people do not understand. And even if they did, like we even talked off air, that in Uganda, everything, however good looking you package it, or however bad looking you package it, it will always be questioned. That's why someone can be questioned whether they went to schools, right? Someone can be questioned whether they ever got pregnant when they are kids and stuff like that. The issue, and reading from the undertones of the public, is the question of why now. This, of course, I do understand the fact that everything has a first time, has its first time. These are not parliamentary meetings. I mean regional sittings that we've had in I don't know how many decades. We've not had them, so many people are not like so much educated about them. They are not so aware about them. There needs to be so much information that ought to go out there today, tomorrow, even before. I think this is something that this is a campaign that would have even would have been started a year or so ago, that in this parliament, for us, we are focusing on. For instance, when the new leadership of parliament was coming in, we expected that if there was something like this coming through, we expected that they would say, at some point for us, if we've seen the different parliaments or parliamentary sessions or settings doing this for a long time and have not produced as much results as possible. For us, we want to do it different.
That's not true.
And I'm saying we expected something like that, and we didn't see. Now, it's coming from budget reading to now. Everyone knows that, and everyone would assume that this might be something to do with PR, trying to especially cleanse the picture, the very bad and horrible picture of Parliament that has been going around. Whether all those allegations are true or not, whenever someone is in a fix and boxed to a corner, they will try to do as many activities as possible in a way to cover up what they've been doing or cover up what information has been going around. But in the end, they are going to make even more mistakes, because then people have put them on the spot. Parliament is on the spot right now. It is at the apex of information in the whole country. And it's in the perfect limelight.
And that would be a perfect time to probably demystify some of the issues that have come through, that have tainted the image of Parliament.
If you begin with going out of one region to another, people will even go deeper to ask, for instance, okay, if you are saying you want to go and listen to the people of Gulu more, or Northern Region more, let's just look and let's just take just a survey around Kampala, where you've been sitting forever. Have the roads been fixed, for instance? And the MPs go through these roads, the ministers pass through this, even the speaker goes through these roads. Have they been fixed?
They even complain about it.
Is there? Of course, I remember the deputy speaker the other day saying
and this some works are going on because of that. Because of that, remember. So actually, that's what brought at least SFC to try and do something.
Why do the Ugandans complain and there is nothing done until a speaker or another national leader says and then something is done?
Even if the speaker did not speak, for instance, I know a tyranny of MPs who come from Chira and Chira municipality and that side. That road has been dusty for donkey years. And they go through the same dust, because for them they have ACs, they raise their windows, and they will go. No dust will touch them. For us who move on borders, who don't have the ACs and stuff like that, you know, we are going to reach here, and you have to go and shower first before you come for such a show. You know that I first showered before I came. So
that's a lie. That's a lie. I'm not going to condone lying on air.
A lie.
But of course, you're representing what others do.
Yes. But then, if the meaning of what Parliament is saying is actually true, of saying let's go and listen to the people of the north, of east, where I come from, of west, or even the greater massacre, are actually true, we should have seen that in Kampala. Let me tell you, Gulu has better roads than Kampala, where there is no parliament, where parliamentary sittings have never
Gulu is just going to be the sitting place.
Okay,
but they're discussing the northern region.
When you look at the infrastructure in terms of roads,
it's not by mistake. It's because Parliament appropriated and the
so Parliament doesn't appropriate for Kampala.
Yes, it's not.
Is it deliberate?
No.
Manzel, I will give you time to definitely rebut.
You will have to respond. For me, I feel the people are actually asking very pertinent questions. Let away with the figures that are flying about, like how much is going to be spent on them to go there and stuff like that. That would be another conversation. And probably Agora might throw out some other documents on the social media after the sittings. Who knows? But for us, the question then is, why now?
Because that is when they've decided.
I mean, like, when do you decide? Is it now that
when the father of the house decides today we will eat chicken, you ask why
is it
today?
now?
But is it parliament cutting budget?
Yes. Is it now that the parliament has realized that the issues of the people in other regions are not being heard?
Okay.
Is it just now?
Okay.
Is it just now that they have had the outcry of the common people in those regions?
So for you, the biggest question is why now?
Why now? And I have said, it is very likely that it's going to be mistaken for trying to
PR
do
cleansing.
PR around and cleanse the picture of parliament.
Thank
and
you.
stuff like that.
Thank you. No, I want to give Derek. I want to give Isaac. Okay.
Let me just give 30 seconds. Parliament committee, select committee, has gone. I'm giving you a case study of APA. For the times I've been covering APA, probably for the last 7 years, Parliament has had different select committees go to APA. For example, they've come with their resolution, recommendation on what should be done. Tell me up to today. So it's the same parliament again, the members of parliament from the region are going to raise issue on APA. So they're going to come again with a resolution. So how will it be different? You see, Manzi, we need to be honest.
Okay, I will give time for Manzil to honestly respond, but Isaac, I am getting your view on why these undertones, because I am thinking, yes, it's a parliament, they want to come, let them get to listen to us. What's the biggest conversation about a parliament sitting in a region?
I think, thank you, Mildred, but I think what we are dealing with is not really what parliament is going to do. We are dealing with the image of parliament. If this had happened in Olanya's time, I can assure you that many would be singing the praises, oh yes, what a transformative leader, what, you know. What we are dealing with is that the timing of this moving to the regions has come at a time where the obvious position is to oppose anything that comes out of parliament. Not that you internalize what is going to happen in parliament. It's a thing of like when the leader of opposition started saying 5 billion and everything, had he looked at the budget? Did he have the details? He didn't give us any details. He just told us we're going to spend a lot of money and everything. So the default is to oppose anything that comes out of parliament. But in essence, what they are doing is something that I think is beneficial. I support the moving of the parliament to the different regions based on one thing. I support it to the extent that there is a function of oversight that parliament must have. They have representation, oversight, and appropriation. Two things, appropriation and oversight, are delegated to committees and everything. But the impact, he was talking of APA. People come and debate APA. 60% of the MPs in that house have never passed Karuma.
Yeah.
So when you're explaining to them a war-torn area or people fighting for land where they have both lived for ages, they don't relate.
Okay.
The issue here that we have here in Central is different. People stealing land, forging titles, you know, it's different.
So it's relatability in this case for
Now,
the issues that have over the time been discussed, like Benson says.
Yes, but what is going to help is the quality of MP, the quality of debate. You see, when you see that question, is it question? No, raising matters of national importance. MPs are raising village arguments. There's this village, we have no borehole, there's iron sheets we need here. As in, they don't even relate with the nation. One of the things that we have a problem with is the quality of MP that we vote into that house. That, you see, as much as you go to represent your people, you go there and make decisions of national character. That when you're appropriating the national cake, which what goes to Gulu, what goes to Karamoja and everything, you put into perspective the different issues that those people have. Now, if a person is talking about poverty and he comes from Mbarara, where there are now even factories, he will not relate with a person in the East, where the majority of poverty is, a place where there used to be industries and everything. Now, when you expose them to these areas and they go and see, the debate will stop being, oh, in my village we need water and everything, but you have experienced what others are going through. Recently, the president, when he returned the budget, there are two instances I'll quote. When he returned the budget, he told us how MPs were cutting budgets of other sectors and allocating them to their constituencies. Things like healthcare, health center 3, road, or whatever it is, at the detriment of the others, the other nation, even when those things were in the budget of the different ministries. Mm-hmm. So for me, with that, I believe it will enhance the knowledge of an MP who discusses matters of national importance. It will enhance their quality of debate, so to speak. A minister was appointed for Karamoja, Honorable Tom Butime. I don't know which year, I think after 2026. And he said, you know what? I can't represent Karamoja. I can't become a minister of Karamoja. I won't be effective. And they ended up switching him, I think, to ICT or something like that. This was a person who had been in government for the longest time. Now you have people who, I went to Gulu in 2000, I think my first time to go there was in 2009. And the image I had of Gulu was bullet-ridden buildings, street children sleeping on the road, you know. And that if you asked anybody who lives south of Karuma, that is the impression that they have.
So
they are representatives.
You think in those few days, the MPs will be able to comprehend the kind of issues that are being discussed?
Yes, because, for example, if you're discussing an issue like APA, you're discussing it on the floor. The people discussing it are the northern MPs. A person from the south absolutely sits back and listens. Right?
I'll forget this point before.
But when it comes to voting on security budget, when it comes to voting on that security budget, they now look at it as wastage.
Okay.
You know? So for me, it's, I think, if for nothing else in the world, it is going to give exposure to the people who make decisions in this country.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, before your RAM is erased.
You see, Isaac is trying to lie us.
He's giving his viewpoint. Give yours in contrary.
See, let me tell you. Isaac has traveled to the north, probably traveled to Gulu. Gulu is a better town than any other town in the north.
I agree.
Sure. Agree.
The members of parliament, as you've even given the case of APA and so forth, they are not going to APA. They are not going to Lamu. They are not going to Nebi. Just a minute. They are not going to Nebi. They are going to Gulu. So if you're telling me they are going to have exposure because they have traveled to the north, exposure of what? Apart from the...
But the Gulu parliamentary leader told you that the other parliament committees are actually going to go.
Yes, a committee that is going...
I've just said so.
I want to revert on that as well. These committees you're talking about, these committees have been doing work. Not that they have... Is it the first time for Committee of Health to go to the north?
No.
So, Benson, what do you suggest that because the issues have not been addressed over the time?
No, we will go. No. We will go to the issue of then what should it have been.
Let me qualify.
The issue I'm raising is these issues that you're saying that are going to be raised from Gulu. These issues have a couple of times been raised from Kampala.
I agree.
And one of the things we have really asked you people, and you come into the north and you will find us people who stay in the north, what we are saying is how different and what is going to be the impact of these. How different? Because
and Mansell is saying,
and
Mansell is saying, away from what has been happening that everyone gets to represent, it is a focus. It is a spotlight.
It's the spotlight.
On the northern region.
I can help him.
But
you see, I actually felt better when my brother here was speaking.
Just about that.
Because you see, I see so much cynicism flowing from my two brothers here about, what Parliament should or shouldn't do. Benson's
and
idea...
they're entitled to their view.
Obviously.
Yes.
Benson's idea is probably resignation, raising our hands in the air.
We haven't had, and I would want to hear from him at a later stage.
Because you see, there must be a solution. A solution must come from somewhere. Parliament is where political interests are aggregated and, articulated. Now, if you say that we've been, going there, first of all, it cannot be that nothing has happened in those regions, really. No one can sit here and say that.
No, we are not saying that.
Yes. Derek just said the roads actually, in Gulu are so good, thanks to a parliament which did the appropriation, by the way. Now, yes.
For Kampala.
Yes, we'll come to Kampala, don't worry. We'll come to Kampala. For me, my issue is, and this goes out to the public and everyone out there, kindly give these sittings a chance.
Nobody's saying no.
Let's give these sittings a chance and see what will come out of there. The questions you're raising now, Benson, on the effectiveness of the sitting should come after that. Should come, that's why I said, let's go to the north. Let's, generate all the issues. Let's provide a solution to the issues. Then we shall come back and discuss the effectiveness of the sitting.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Which issue has Parliament discussed over the issue of northern Uganda?
Benson, are you saying Parliament has not had any resolution on any issue in northern Uganda?
Can I give an example?
Give me.
I remember there was a time we had the issue of nodding syndrome.
Has it been handled?
Parliament effectively handled it.
Has it been handled?
Well, has it not?
2011,
has it not?
2011, the blood samples were taken. Has it been turned back?
Is the situation the way it has been before?
No, I cover.
Because you see, I attended the sitting. Where listen. I attended the sitting where the late Jacob Olanya, I think in the last Parliament, brought an expert to present to members in plenary. The Minister of Health was there. The Minister of Finance was there, and money was appropriated in that sitting. That actual sitting.
How much?
I don't remember the figures. I can give you the figures. However, the issue is, it did. And I can assure you, Benson, we can sit here and discuss.
Then that Benson would not go to Manzil. It will be the Northern Region MPs to be able to have that.
The only facility that helps the children with nodding syndrome is barely, nothing is happening. More constituency of the late speaker. You're talking about nodding syndrome, go to Pade now.
Exactly what we are saying.
And by the way,
we need to take a very short break and continue with this conversation at a later stage. And then I would also like to pick your ideas, especially Derek and Benson, how better, and the viewers out there, how better then would we have been able to deal with having all the regional conversations aggregated into one conversation. But let's come back shortly after this break. Gentlemen, we are back, and thank you so much for the continued conversation, but also to our audience on television and across. Thank you so much for joining us. We're still on the issue of the parliamentary regional sittings, and of course still with my panel, Derek Wandera. I still do have Benson Ongom, Manzil Ibrahim, and as well Isaac Kayonde. I for once thought I need to sit in between Manzil and Benson, but I will keep them the way they are so they can get to explain. I have just a few comments I will read out too. This is Honorable Ahawe Godfrey Perez, a former legislator, who says, the concept of taking parliament to the people started with Sekandi Kadagaren in the 8th parliament. We sat at Acholi Inn. Only MPs from the region participated, together with area councillors, RDCs, chairpersons of local governments. A few ministers were invited, including local government, agriculture, to respond to the issues raised mainly by councillors, but that was the only place we went to. It was not the actual parliament entirely convening as it does in the parliamentary chambers. I also have one coming in from Imam Kasozi, who says, I entirely agree with Benson. Other than just traveling, what impact will the sitting leave? The issue is not where the meeting takes place, but the quality of members of parliament and the ability to comprehend national issues. And I will not read the next comment. I am sorry, Imam Kasozi, I'll keep it at that. But I will start with you, Derek, once again. Which other way then? Because like Manzil is saying, it seems like Parliament has done the same thing over and over again. But we also know that the Constitution does empower the Speaker to declare whatever place they decide to sit as Parliament. That is why sometimes we don't have sittings in the parliamentary building. We take them to Kololo, to Serena, or wherever, which would be the same case of shifting Parliament from Parliamentary Avenue to Gulu or to Masindi or to wherever. That's number one. But also, secondly, if they've done the same thing over again and things are not changing and they're trying to find another way, how better do you think they should have been doing it?
Parliament is hiding and putting their heads into sand like an ostrich, to assume that the problem of Parliament is appropriation. I don't think the problem of Parliament is appropriation. The economy of Uganda as a whole has a big problem in funding its issues in funding, on making sure that the issues of the country are addressed. The issue of legislation, appropriation, and the others are not the problem. I think if the government, the topmost government, had the issue of priority.
What do you mean topmost government? Is that the executive?
Okay. Yes, we have one topmost government in this country. If they had the issue of appropriation, not appropriation, but I was meaning prioritization at the top of their minds, the issue of having those say nodding syndrome, health issues, education issues, and all the other social service issues would have been addressed in a very much better way. You think government does not prioritize? For me, of course, I know that the government doesn't prioritize on some of the things, and we've seen it even in this past budget. There was a lot of haggling in But Derek, you agree that there are competing demands that, and so many issues that government has to deal with. But if you are cutting a budget of health to fund an individual's business entity, I don't think that is that actually brings out the matter that we're talking about. But what I'm saying is the issue about some of the health or social service issues that are happening across the country are not that because they have not been deliberated, or are not that because Parliament has not heard about them, or are not that some MPs do not know about them. You think it's deliberate for government not to give social services? I feel these matters have been debated a zillion times on Parliament, on the floor of Parliament, and the issue is not even about the debate and how whether or... So you just don't want Parliament to go, let them stay where they are? For me, I feel these matters have been brought to the floor of Parliament. However, there is a deliberate move of not prioritizing them. And now Parliament is saying, let's go to the region and prioritize. Prioritizing them is not about debating about them from there. Prioritizing is prioritizing in terms of budgeting. Appropriation for them. Okay. And that is something that has refused to happen, and I don't think, even if they went there, they would happen. It's Derek, just like saying... Derek, let me ask a question, because when Parliament is sitting, it's a National Assembly. A Northern MP will vote for an issue in the Western region. One from the East will vote on an issue from the Northern region. How do we get a point in time where it is not everything and everything, but it is we're focusing on this particular region and its issues, which Parliament seemingly wants to do right now? How best can that be done? Mildred, you said something quite interesting when Manzil was submitting. The Parliament has a Hansard. Yeah. That however minute an issue is given in terms of time, but as long as it has been pointed out and spoken about, it's written on the Hansard. You do not need to go to APA for you to know that the APA problem has to be addressed. Okay. You do not have to go to for instance, in Busia, about the gold mining there, the issues that come with gold mining. You do not have to go there for you to know, because we have already representation.
So you can do data mining of the key issues in the different regions and then address them.
From the handset. And these issues can be well articulated, but also given priority in terms of funding. What is lacking is prioritization in funding. And even if Parliament carried the entire building and took it to Gulu, then lifted that building, took it to Masaka, the issues are going to remain there. Not because Parliament is not debating about them, but just because there is no
prioritization.
There is no will, political will in prioritizing.
You are reading from the Book of Lamentation.
No, I'm telling you.
Whether you read that book before you came here, the two of you here.
It's not that we've not had this matter.
Thank you. I hear Derek's point being that the same issues like Benson was raising can be extrapolated from the Hansard. If we are saying we want to do a regional focus and then they get focused on having been, we call it in IT data mining, mine your data, get all the other points that you need. That is his view, and everyone else is entitled to their view.
Obviously.
So I will definitely be coming to pick your own view. Benson, you also seem to say it's the same things we've talked about, it's the same things that are going to be talked about. How better then would you advise Parliament to be able to handle those regional issues now that they're saying, Northern region, we're coming, we want to focus on you?
First of all, I don't know whether me, Derek, and Manze come from the same country, because what Manze is saying is completely different from what we experience every day.
Yes.
I don't know whether we come from the same country.
You do, definitely. It's just a thinking.
What Parliament needs to do is to do the right thing.
Which is?
Which is what Derek has been saying. What is the priority of Parliament? All these things that we are going to speak about now, and they are going to speak about in Gulu, are things that have been spoken about.
But Benson,
Just a minute.
let me interrupt you. Are you alive to still the fact that every region has pressing issues that they will consider very passionate on one hand?
Yes.
And then also that we do not have a budget sufficient to be able to fund all those at the same time for them to be addressed.
Yes. I am very alive to that, and that is why I'm saying, even I asked Manze earlier, that if Parliament goes to Gulu and they say, okay, we need to deal with the issues of the raids, and they probably have it as a resolution and how they're going to deal with it.
Okay.
Is it not still going to be captured in the national activity or in the budget? Will it be a different affirmative budget or any direction that Parliament will take for the region only? What I'm simply saying is all these issues that we have raised, Parliament has done oversight before, not only now. I give you an example, a typical example of APA. Recommendation, I covered almost 6 to 7 committees of Parliament going to APA. All of them have had recommendations on how to deal with the issues of APA. And all these issues have been debated from Kadaga's time until Anita's time. The question now I am asking my brother and people that wishes well for this country is that really this issue that they're going there, the resolution is going to be different or not? So Parliament has to do the right thing. Right now, I agree with what my brother said. I think Parliament is dealing with an image issue, and they're trying to figure out any way how they can make people sympathize with the image issue. And it's a huge issue. You have a Parliament that each and every week you have something coming from Parliament which takes away people's trust. Even in marriage. Me, I'm married. My brother, he has a ring. Me, I didn't carry my ring today. But
question for another day.
But I can tell you, if you do things in marriage, if you have a wife and children, and every day you're coming home late probably, or you miss coming home without a reason, there's going to be a mistrust. And that is what we are saying with Parliament. You can't have issues every day. Every week, in and out, you having issue coming to Parliament, either corruption, either on who. We lose trust. So you, Parliament, and you people who work in Parliament, has to go to drawing board. Building trust is over time. Just like when you're dating a woman to accept you. It's not a one-day thing. You go and tell a woman, I need you, and she accepts you. There must be a process of that. And you have lost that. Unfortunately also, some of the people that come from Parliament to speak, some of them are very defensive than objective. We have had this conversation before. Have clear mind. I have friends in Parliament, from members of Parliament to so. I know the qualities of our members of Parliament from the North. I can tell you from all the districts in the North, I know the qualities of our members of Parliament. I think it also goes beyond just Parliament itself. Sometimes it goes to the quality of members of Parliament we have. Are they really doing presentation that we need? So what we are saying is, the regional Parliament in its ideal and name is not a bad thing. It's coming to Gulu, to be honest with you. I think many things, people will be excited to see members of Parliament, even the Speaker, people will be excited to see her. But what we are questioning and what we are saying, let it be something. And I hope Mildred will invite us here after this regional Parliament, probably before the end of the year, because he has really said, let's give it a chance. And we are not saying no, but we are saying Parliament has to change direction on how it does its things. If you're doing an oversight and you have brought recommendation, how best are your recommendation being done? Okay. Because all these issues you are talking about, the regional Parliament, Mildred, in 1 minute, they are going to talk about APA. No doubt, issue of APA is going to come. The issue of power supply in northern Uganda is going to come. I'm happy now that West Nile has good power. Yeah. The issue of road, Lion sub-region, and I've always questioned the relationship, this handshake between Akana and the president. Lion sub-region has the worst roads, probably even in the entire north, because the only road that crosses to Lion is from Soroti, going to Kamdini. Now, the new one is from Dokolo, Lion sub-region. They are going to ask you the questions of poverty, which is really there. Government has done affirmative programs, serve what, they have been there, but the quality of people has not changed. These are the issues going to be raised. Now that these issues are going to be raised, and they have been raised before,
sit down and
they have been raised before, how different will that? We are saying, what is going to be the impact?
And then Manzel is saying, let's give it time and then do an assessment immediately after. But thank you, Benson. I hear you. Isaac, I want to come to you, Manzel. I'll get to you later. How better, maybe, do we get to have a regional focus on issues?
Thank you, Mildred. The issue here, again, we are suffering, and I was grappling with, I was listening to Wandera and Benson, is that, look, Parliament does not implement its decisions. That is not its role. Parliament debates, makes laws, and provides oversight. The issues of
and appropriation.
The fact that Parliament does its job and hands over a report, the executive is supposed to implement that. If Parliament has come up with a position and the executive does not implement it over an issue like APA, that's not the fault of Parliament. That's the fault of the executive. What they are raising are not the roles
But Isaac,
of Parliament.
Isaac, I want to come in just a little bit. They're raising issues of appropriation. True to it, like Manzel said, the budget is an instrument of the executive. But Parliament gets to discuss and offers recommendations. We've also seen switches of monies from one sector to another. And they're saying, can't that same voice be added over the issues presented?
I agree. What I'm saying, that's exactly what we have been saying all along, is that let us enhance the quality of the debate in Parliament, because that's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with contractors. We're not dealing with...
Will we enhance it with the
now,
Parliament?
with a better parliamentarian, with a better understanding of the issues, then we will have probably a better result. Much as the result is not dependent on the Parliament. Like you said earlier, an MP from the West votes on issues of the North, votes on issues of the East. When they are busy appropriating and fighting for the national cake, they should have that nationalistic view about it. Okay. Now, for me, it's a thing of understanding that, look, even if it is a PR stunt, Parliament needs that PR right now. The issue of representation, for example, people. Yesterday, but I think a video came out of an MP making their maiden speech, right? Now, the people in the constituency, when they are voting, they don't have the ability to understand how they are represented in the House. Because, like you've heard, if a person 2-3 years down the road is making their maiden speech, people down there have never listened, they don't know. But if they are closer and LCs, LC5s come and participate in plenary, what the Honorable MP said, whether it was started in Kadaga's time,
Parliament.
Yes, then they had it there. We have never had plenary in the north.
Yeah, sure.
People have gone to visit the General, General Salim Saleh. You know, members, caucuses have all gone there. That's okay. You've gone there to you know,
to pay homage.
To pay homage or go and get a part of the national cake. But it has never happened that you see we go there, have a plenary session where an MP from the east, an MP from the south, an MP from wherever comes and gets a feel of what happens in the north.
Okay.
So to that extent, honestly, this should be supported.
All right, Manzel, I'll definitely come back to you. Is this the antidote to the continuous, we talked and talked and talked, and now we're changing strategy to be able to achieve a different result?
Thank you very much, Mildred. I've listened to my brothers here. However, let me say this. Public affairs is a constantly moving wheel. There is no point we are going to reach and say issues have been discussed, issues have been resolved, there's nothing more to do, there's nothing more to improve. Parliament sits in a position where, like Benson probably rightly argued and Derek, if we have been doing the same things year in, year out from independence up to now, and still there is this, issues keep coming up, matters are not resolved conclusively. There is need to throw everything at the problem to see if a solution can be found. And this is why I really plead with the public and everyone out there. This is the 11th Parliament. The leadership of Parliament of Right Honourable Anita Among and the Right Honourable Thomas Taiwa is 3 years into leadership, 3 years or something. And there is need for new approaches in resolving public affairs. And one of them is to really localize issues, go to the people. Mildred made mention of it. The framers of this constitution, first of all, Parliament is a colonial construct in Uganda. Before the coming of the colonialists, we did not have a Parliament. Every region had its maybe kingdom or chiefdom where matters were resolved at a localized level. Now, the framers of this constitution did not envisage a parliament that sits in one position, in one point forever, which is why it is the prerogative of the speaker to determine where and when parliament sits. So this is an attempt at, one, demystifying the institution of parliament. We talk about the quality of members. Do you know the issues, the basis upon which the public actually vote members into parliament? I just told Benson, he got a first class yesterday, okay? He could go and contest with someone who has an equivalent of senior, not an equivalent of a senior 6. But because people, the public has not fully appreciated what exactly a member of parliament does, he could actually lose an election. Now, the idea is that if we take this parliament as closer to the people as possible, they will see that a member of parliament raises matters concerning us, then it throws it to the government. The government says, okay, this is our solution. Then when parliament resolves that this is the path that should be taken, in the next appropriation, money is voted. If money is the solution, money is voted to deal with the issue. Now, first hand and at close range, that voter sees that a member of parliament, an effective member of parliament, is not the one who attends funerals, is not the one who contributes, at weddings and things like that, but it is the one who understands the pains of the people. Which is
also an appropriation role for you for civic education, clearly.
Yes, and I'm going to come to that. Raises the issue, and a solution is found. The people should see their parliament working for them. And this is the spirit with which these regional sittings actually have been conceived.
Okay.
It is not conceived, Parliament has a work plan. It is not something that the Speaker just woke up and said, this is going to happen. This has been in the works. So the idea of going to the regions, first with Gulu, then other regions will come, because members of parliament are national leaders.
How long is parliament staying in each region? Maybe for the benefit of our viewers.
This time, the committees have already gone to get the issues, and then we will have the standard Tuesday.
Which committees have
Tuesday,
gone
I'll come to that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we will have 3 days for every region, at least tentatively. If there is need to amend and all that, it will be communicated.
However, which committees have gone already?
However, for me, I am interested in us giving this idea a chance. The success or failure of it will be seen in to what extent have the issues, the resolutions that have been arrived at in those sittings been implemented.
Okay. Thank you. Benson seeks to know which committees have gone, and I think
I'll check.
He is not the spokesperson of Parliament. I'll protect him on that. But you will definitely get that.
I can respond to that.
The reason why I asked it.
Listen, Benson.
We can get those details for you shortly before we get out.
I have requests from several committees that are actually going where we're going to
deploy officers.
Just follow the Parliament handle. You're going to see every activity there.
As a committee going to?
Yes. Follow the Parliament handle, follow the website. We're going to report on all this. Actually, when I leave this place, I'm going to share with you the details of the committees. I can assure you.
And we'll definitely be able to share.
And by the way, I think I am one of the few staff of Parliament who are still here. Most of our colleagues have already gone there to prepare.
It's okay. I just wanted to know the committee.
Which are there, that you will be able to follow up.
I'll find out and share with you.
We have definitely a team that is going to be following up on all the regional conversations, and we'll cover that for you. We need to be taking another short break and return with a different conversation as well, but this regards to the run-up to the 2026 elections. Let's get back. All right, welcome back from the short commercial break, and thank you so much for keeping it NBS Television. It's still the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show, and it is always a day of having different players, journalists as well, making sense of the stories that have made headlines during the week, and that is the Media Roundtable. Still with Derek Wandera, I still do have Benson Ongo, Manzil Ibrahim, and Isaac Kayonde making sense of some of those stories. One of the other issues in waiting is the final decision of the Forum for Democratic Change Katonga faction, particularly to look at it with regard to what happened with their consultations, what have they decided. But for many, the conversation seems to rotate around formulation of a new home, a new political party, and that will be the end of it. Does this get to resolve the different issues that they've dealt with? And up until when will we have formulation of new political parties over disagreements? Does that grow our political space? That's a conversation I want us to get into right about now. And Isaac, I want to start with you. When all this started, it seemed very clear that one of the groups was hell-bent on just letting go because they couldn't be able to agree. But many of the political parties have been formed on a basis of disagreement, and we've not seen them stay for a very long time. Does this grow our political sphere? How best can these political interests be amalgamated in one? It's a home. You disagree, agree, and still stay together.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think that that a new political party, if FDC forms a new political, the Katonga faction forms, it will have any impact on the political landscape as it is right now. One of the things that we have failed to understand is that political parties largely are formed around ideas and ideology. Now, that's not the case for Uganda. Political parties are being formed around individuals. 60 or 70% of the people who support NRM, myself included, support NRM primarily because of President Museveni. FDC without...
Does your party have an ideology?
Absolutely, but the president champions those ideologies. We'll get into that another time for sure. But parties today are formed around the individuals that lead them. Now, FDC without Kizza Besigye went where it went. It didn't garner the support that they did. NUP without Bobby Wine, I guarantee you, even if Rubongoya was president, he's going to lose a certain support base. So we are at
You haven't mentioned the other one.
the other one.
The NRM without
The NRM without Museveni. Well, I also don't think it can survive. The honest truth, I don't think it can survive. But there should be it should not be evil for us to present the strongest person we have in the party. I mean, just like the others. So for me, Katonga Group is simply, for me, trying to galvanize the energy around Kizza Besigye that he used to have, whether it is Kizza Besigye or Lukwago, whatever it is. It will be, again, that leader that they choose that will lead the other people to surround and support it. So in that regard, I don't think that it will have a great impact in the political landscape. I think right now Ugandans were too polarized to the extremes, in the sense that if you're not supporting NUP, you're supporting NRM. Both, there's no middle ground. There's no a leader like Muntu, who I think has demonstrated leadership, has had experience and all, cannot play. He's not. He wouldn't make it in a contest of. It's like bring a cat to a dog fight, you know. You have a person like Mao who presents his ideas quite well, but again, they cannot marshal the support you need to win an election in Uganda. So, FDC bring in another party, yes, we shall relate with it in the sense of, we see what they're doing, but we will be more interested in who leads that political party, whether it is Kizza Besigye or Lukwago. Whoever has a better national outlook will eventually take it on.
All right, Manzil, looking into that, and when you saw the breakaway, because it started with I think Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda is the one who organized it wasn't a press conference, a delegates conference. These issues came out, then there is an investigation, then they're not agreeing, and clearly you would see there is already bad blood between them. But are we at a point where we can agree to disagree in a political party?
Thank you. I think because the multi-party phenomenon is still nascent in Uganda, if you can say so, we still have issues of handling grievances in political parties, and I think that really affects our democratic culture and things like that. However, I do not want, whereas it's the constitutional right of any Ugandan to form a political party and you can have thousands of them, I think we need to reach a stage where we have a binary kind of political system where there is an either and an or, to clarify the choices for voters. You know, if you have, for instance, you look at Ghana, there are two dominant political parties, and those two dominant political parties go into an election with very clear ideas on very clear position on what they stand on every issue. So the voters have an easier choice to decide between this or the other. Now, if you have a situation where we are crowded with several political parties, then there's this, and the other one brings one member of parliament, the other one brings three, the other one brings four. In the end, we know that political parties are institutions of the state, and they are financed by the taxpayers. Now, the financing of political parties is pegged on the number of members of parliament you have. Now, if you have the opposition, for instance, scattered across maybe 5, 6, 7 political parties, it means even the resources that they should use to really build the political systems, to build the institutions of their parties, to ensure that the parties are strong and vibrant, is also going to be scattered. Now, the net effect would be, you know, in my view, a weaker opposition. However, if we have...
But it would still be what the ruling party wants. I mean, the head of the party said he will crush the opposition, and I think the target had been by 2020, something, 21.
No, I think the opposition phenomenon is a creation of the constitution. There should be, you know, as diverse political views as possible. My only worry is that if we have, for instance, one political party dominant, maybe we have NRM dominant, then we have whatever party on the other side, and every party collapses into that one. When we go into an election, it clarifies the issues better. It makes campaigning even easier. And also, we need to move away from the idea that an individual can be stronger than their political party. The Honorable Norbert Mao has been talking about proportional representation, where the political party is the one that goes to look for the votes, then basing on the percentage they've garnered in the elections, then they allocate themselves seats in parliament, like it happens in South Africa and others. I think that would be the ideal, where individual interests are subordinate to the political party's interests. So that now we have the culture of people respecting their parties, working within them. If there are disagreements, there are mechanisms to resolve them, and they are more robust. Because you see, if Benson disagrees with his party and leaves, and Derek does and leaves, and everyone else, by the time, I mean, we are scattering those strengths, but if they were added, the mechanism to resolve political disputes in political parties would actually be better. And ultimately we would have a stronger democracy. I want a situation where we have maybe two dominant parties, and in Kenya they try, even when the multi-party culture in Kenya is also as not as strong as ours here. I mean, we are in the same boat, if you can say, with the Kenyans. For them, they try to coalesce around, they form coalitions towards elections, and there's always an either-or. It will be maybe Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga. Those are the two dominant. It's always two horse races. And then you find that someone wins a presidential election with maybe 51% of the vote, sometimes 50.8% of the vote. That's how democracy should be. The parliament is also, there's a thin line. So matters are contested, issues are discussed, all views are heard, and then we have a solution and we get a stronger country in the end. I think if it can work that way, the funds that are given to political parties can all come into one side as they are. NRM gets a lot of money from the Electoral Commission.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I think second is NUP, but imagine if NUP, FDC, and all those parties had one political party and all the monies go into that, all the efforts, all the resources, we would have we would develop our political culture in such a way that, I would know that Benson comes from this, is from this point of view, and I come from this. And it would also kill ethnicization of politics. If we have two dominant parties, but if, for instance, I become a kingpin in my area, and I form an ethnic party, Derek goes to Busia and also gathers his people and forms a party and all that, I think it would be counterproductive in the end.
All right, Derek, and definitely I'll come to you on that. It's very clear that may be or should be the path that they're planning to take. The same way when General Muntu was in the FDC and there was total disagreement on how the party is supposed to be moving, whether it's a defiance or grassroots election, there was formation of a political party. Reform agenda, later on getting into FDC's disagreement, the NRM, you're disagreeing, and then you move out. Does that build a political system as we try to say we're in a multi-party dispensation, we want to build a democratic space?
Yes, it does.
When we disagree, we form another party.
It does.
Okay, go ahead.
That is part of democracy. That is actually democracy. We entered this thing, and we must live by it. I'll give you an example. In South Africa, there are 1,743 political parties, registered political parties. In the just concluded election, when you look, how did ANC lose its first vote for the first time after 3 decades? It was because it had a breakaway of Zuma, Jacob Zuma, who formed his political party, Mkoto Wesiziwe. And he took it because he comes from the dominant tribe in South Africa, that's Zulu. And he did that, and it changed the entire landscape. It had to take coalitions and coalitions for a final vote to be delivered.
ANC still in power.
Yes, and I'm saying it had to take coalitions and coalitions for them to come up with a final verdict. Kenya, our neighbors, have 90 registered political parties. And like Manzil, whom I think has even more affluent knowledge about Kenya than any of us on this show, they always come into coalitions towards
At least they get to agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uganda has, as of now, close to 30 registered political parties. And we've not appreciated the whole thing of coalitions and stuff like that. What does that show?
We've tried.
We've tried.
What makes it fail?
But what does that show? That politics, and those who have studied political science will let you know that politics is a game of numbers. Politics is a game of influence. And the more influence you get, that will be democracy.
So will influence be gotten by small partitions of the same?
If South Africa, which we think is more democratic than Uganda, has 1,743, Uganda only has 33. So which one is more democratic? I mean,
would you rather go for the numbers or the quality?
For me, and of course, who beats South Africa in terms of quality? Who beats it? Does Uganda, which has 33, beat South Africa?
It depends on your yardstick of quality.
Look at the Parliament of South Africa when they start to argue matters on the floor of Parliament. There is nothing but quality. For me, it is part of democracy. And we can break and fragment to as many political dispensations as possible. But that is the growth of parliament, of democracy. You see, a child
But I want to believe that growth of democracy also entails agreeing to disagree. It's not that every time I do not share the same idea with you, I have to form mine.
If you find a political party which has no disagreement, there is no democracy there.
They will disagree.
They will certainly disagree. There has to be disagreement.
And they stay.
And others even run out. And because democracy is that you choose what you feel you want.
Okay.
And it's one's mandate to sway majority of the group to whichever side they think that is true. So democracy.
Does that help the opposition in Uganda's case?
Does that help democracy? Let's not just look at opposition. Does that help democracy?
Does it?
It does. If President Museveni today or tomorrow or next year can sway Ugandans for as many years as possible, if it is true that he's swaying them to his side every time he's doing that, so be it. If the opposition came up today and swayed all the people to their side, so be it.
That's the numbers.
Yes. If another person, like in Nup, if people broke up, I mean, for us, we are thinking that when a child is growing and they fall down, we feel so bad. And yet, kids are supposed to fall as they're learning to move. Kids are look at the US and all those developed nations in terms of democracy. People actually look at democracy from inside out. And yet, the real democracy is supposed to be that influence as many people as possible, have as many numbers. Every day President Museveni wakes up is to make sure that Robert Kyagulanyi joins his political party. Every day Bobi Wine wakes up from his home in Magere, his first wish is that Museveni joins NUP. And that's democracy. And that's politics. And for me, we can break as many political parties as possible for as long as we agree that we are fighting for a better Uganda.
All right, thank you very much. Benson, in the conversation of breakouts always comes the view of egos and the fact that people have actually just failed to agree, and not that they are coalescing on an ideology like Isaac did clearly say. It is which individual, what do they believe in, what's their egos, do they stay out?
I think for the FDC, we have seen that manifestation in a long time, the issue of ego. It started away from, I remember, I think, towards the election when I saw, I think, at Fairway, when Besigye was with Bobi Wine, we didn't see somehow Amuriat joining, yet Amuriat by then was the party president. The ego in the FDC has been there. I don't think we will see a political party. Maybe, I don't see too much ego in NUP, even in NRM. I don't know what stops NRM from having, earlier when he was talking about conflicts, they're not so loud in their conflicts. They try to suppress it a bit. But with the FDC case, and for me, from these Katonga issues that I've been able to see, I see FDC as the biggest loser. FDC as FDC, neither Katonga or the other faction. Because I'll give you what has really made FDC.
Benson, what do you mean their NRM doesn't have disagreements and have not?
They said they do, but probably suppressing.
What is suppressing when MK is here and Museveni is here? What is suppression? Suppression
I
about
think they
that?
know what they're doing.
No.
Is MK part of the NRM? He has not declared being part of the national resistance movement.
He has said that so many times.
He
has said that so many times. Look, there was a time
he's
he
not
came
a member.
and said,
And the party position has been from the Secretary General that he's not a party member.
And said that he said very categorical that my party, NRM, has been blah, 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 and whatever he said.
Reactionary.
Thank you.
But he does not. He does not belong to the NRM, at least according to the party leadership. He has no party card.
He has a lot of NRM supporters.
I protect you, Benson. Conclude your...
So many NRM.
So what I'm saying, FDC is the biggest loser. If you have seen in the past elections, I think FDC had got numbers of members of parliament from Northeast. If you see now the divide that we see, even in the past election in Dokolo, the Dokolo by-election, we didn't see the Katonga beat part going and being very aggressive. The power part went, and the faction went a bit to show some visibility. But if you see now what is going to happen, actually sub-region used to produce, I think, probably 60% of members of parliament from the FDC, from the region, before NRM came through. Now you have probably around 5 members of parliament from the FDC, who the alignment is now very divided. I know Beta Olochan a bit with Power, Gilbert Ulanya now, I don't know where he's going to be, most likely Noob. Betty, Akelo Lucy, Akol, you see that divide, and maybe Amera from Kidgum. If you go to Teso, which has actually produced the biggest numbers of members of parliament from the FDC over the past years, they also have the alignment. Don't forget the fact that Power comes from Teso. And from the elections that have been happening in Teso, I have seen now that gentleman called Power move certain things from the Soroti East by-election. That time we saw Bestie still. So the biggest loser I see, what is the FDC game plan, whether it's Katonga or not, even if they're going to have a new party, how do they intend to build a new party and win seats? Because at the end of the day, it's still going to be about winning seats in that parliament.
The numbers.
So I see they're giving a very free lane for National Unity Platform and also even NRM. Because in Teso now, in Acholi now, I don't think FDC will get the votes they've got. I see some members from the FDC, I see NRM coming. The only hope maybe from Northeast is now the UPC, which is rebranding very much. I actually see the UPC in Lao sub-region taking almost 80% of the seats in this coming election.
Okay.
Unless NRM does otherwise, the way they've been doing things, sometimes, maybe, but the biggest loser is the FDC itself. They have to get down to their ego, but also FDC, we have had arguments here and debates here. FDC without Besigye is a very tricky situation for them. They really need Besigye as well.
Okay, and someone said that they don't need to form a new political party, they need to apologize to Muntu and join the Alliance for National Transformation. But well, we need to bring this to a close. Our time is first spent. Thank you very much, Derek and Benson Manzil, as well as Isaac, for sparing your time to be with us. And thank you to you, our viewer, for taking off time to pay attention to our conversation. This is where we end it. I am Mildred Tohaise. Good morning. God bless you.